Why is this specific aerospace agreement making aviation history? I mean, could a totally new transatlantic manufacturing pact literally reshape the global defense supply chain? While behind a recent announcement out of Ottawa lies a massive shift in how military uncrewed aerial systems, drones, are going to be built and deployed in the future. Welcome back to Air Flight Space. In this explainer, we're breaking down a groundbreaking new uncrewed systems manufacturing pact that fuses North American industrial muscle with battle-tested aerospace engineering. It's a huge story of global defense, tech integration, and strategic economics. So let's dive right into it. To really wrap our heads around the gravity of this new partnership, we first have to look at the sheer scale of the financial and strategic commitment driving it all. The number is just staggering. 25 billion Canadian dollars. That's a massive figure, representing the total amount of military and non-military assistance Ottawa has poured into Ukraine since the Russian invasion kicked off back in 2022. It sets the broader geopolitical stage, right? We're not just looking at some minor, routine defense contract here. We're looking at a sustained, multi-billion-dollar international effort. And now, as we're got to see, that effort is transitioning from just writing checks and shipping gear into direct, heavy-duty industrial integration. Here is the roadmap for our explainer today. We'll be looking at a historic defense partnership. The companies behind it will take you inside the drone fleet itself, examine the economic and strategic goals, and finally, look at expanding global partnerships. All right, part one, a historic defense partnership. The timeline of how this whole came together is pretty striking. Since that 2022 Russian invasion triggered the initial $25 billion in aid, the whole strategy has really evolved. A major turning point hit on May 29, 2026, at the annual CANSEC Defense and Security Conference in Ottawa. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney actually made a historic appearance there, the first time a sitting prime minister ever did that. He used the platform to hammer home a major governmental push to revitalize Canada's domestic defense industry. And looking ahead, Ottawa already has roughly 2 billion Canadian dollars in military assistance locked in for the 2026 to 2027 fiscal year alone. Now, the absolute centerpiece of that CANSEC appearance was the signing of a highly unique agreement between the governments of Canada and Ukraine. The core objective? It's simple, but completely revolutionary: manufacturing Ukrainian military drones right here in North America. Instead of just buying off-the-shelf equipment and shipping it overseas, this pact builds a direct pipeline to supply the Ukrainian armed forces with Canadian-assembled uncrewed weapon systems built exactly to Ukrainian design specs. It's a real game changer. Moving on to part two, the companies behind it. This brings us to the two heavyweight players making this joint venture happen. On one side, we've got Airlogix, a Ukrainian defense tech company, and they bring something to the table that very, very few aerospace firms actually possess: hard-won operational combat experience in high-intensity modern warfare. They know exactly what works in the field. On the other side is Sentinel, a major Ontario-based manufacturer that assembles uncrewed aerial systems. Sentinel supplies that stable, secure, high-tech domestic assembly capability you absolutely need to scale up production. So it's a perfect symbiotic relationship. Airlogix brings the battle-tested blueprints, and Sentinel provides the North American manufacturing muscle to mass-produce them. Let's get into the hardware in part three, inside the drone fleet. This lineup really illustrates the diverse technical capabilities we're dealing with. Airlox's primary piece of hardware is the GOR, which is an electrically powered system. Meanwhile, Sentinel's flagship product is the Recom, a highly capable multi-role fixed-wing drone. But Sentinel isn't stopping there. They are really pushing the engineering envelope with variants currently in development. We're talking about the Recom Ascent, which packs vertical takeoff and landing, or VTOL, capabilities, and the Recom Echo, a high-speed jet-powered variant. Now, just a quick aside, it's important to note for our analysis that neither Kyiv nor Ottawa have officially confirmed exactly which of these specific models will hit the production lines in Canada under this new pact. But even so, the technological baseline we are looking at is incredibly advanced. To fully grasp what Airlogix's flagship system, the GOR, actually does out there, we need to understand its primary mission. The GOR is categorized as a catapult-launched ISR platform. And if you're not familiar, ISR stands for Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance. In the brutal arena of modern uncrewed warfare, these quiet, electrically powered platforms are literally the eyes and ears of the battlefield. They feed critical, real-time data straight back to command centers to guide massive tactical operations. All right, part four, economic and strategic goals. From the Canadian perspective, this is heavily focused on domestic industrial resilience. Canadian Defense Minister David McGuinty put it pretty clearly. He said, by supporting joint ventures like Airlogix-Sentinel, we are helping deliver the critical capabilities Ukraine needs while supporting high-value Canadian jobs. He made the point that this collaboration hits two massive goals at once, backing Ukraine while driving serious economic growth right at home. It's a very strategic move to beef up Canada's own aerospace manufacturing base by leveraging foreign combat-proven technology. On the flip side, the Ukrainian perspective is laser-focused on one thing: speed and battlefield effectiveness. Dmytro Pyatrin, the chief commercial officer of Airlogix, hit the nail on the head when he said, "Our main intention is to provide effective systems as fast as possible to the armed forces of Ukraine." You see, for Airlogix and Kiev, this North American joint venture isn't just about economics. It's a completely pragmatic solution to bypass local supply chain disruptions and get combat-ready hardware straight to the front lines without any delays. So how does all this build into a broader strategic doctrine? Well, the Canadian Department of National Defence has explicitly stated that they recognize the massive, growing importance of uncrewed and autonomous systems in modern warfare and national security. They are looking at Ukraine's daily operational expertise as an incredibly vital asset. By fusing North American manufacturing with this hard-won Ukrainian combat experience, both nations are basically turbocharging their defense postures. In fact, Ottawa is so on board with this that they've committed to pursuing even more joint development and co-production opportunities exactly like this one. Which leads us perfectly into Part 5, expanding global partnerships. Because the manufacturing footprint for these systems isn't just staying in Canada, it is expanding rapidly across continents. Airlogix is forming similar joint ventures all over the place, specifically targeting highly specialized manufacturers. They've teamed up with the Swiss-American firm Autorion, known for producing one-way attack drones. And building on that, in February of 2026, Airlogix signed a massive deal with Autorion's German subsidiary. The goal there? To deliver literally thousands of German-manufactured X-Wing interceptors and Delta-Wing strike munitions. The demand is absolutely off the charts, because that specific joint venture received its first firm order just a couple months later, in April of 2026. It just perfectly illustrates this new, highly decentralized, globalized approach to modern defense production. And finally, our conclusion. As the traditional boundaries of defense manufacturing start to blur and combat-tested aerospace technology leaps across the Atlantic for domestic assembly, we are left with a massive question. How will the integration of uncrewed and autonomous systems permanently reshape modern defense strategies over the next decade? Could this kind of decentralized co-production model become the new absolute standard for the global aerospace industry? Well, we want to hear from you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Air Flight Space. If you found this documentary explainer valuable, please hit that like button, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let us know your thoughts on this historic joint venture down in the comments below. See you in the next one.